I heard she's behind on her mortgage. She asked Tessa for a loan, didn't she? It's really sad. I hope she doesn't lose her house. It's wild how fast a lie can become a legacy in some families. I used to think that if you worked hard, kept your head down, and minded your own business, people would respect you. But the truth is, sometimes the people who smile in your face are the same ones who sharpen the knife behind your back. My name is Danielle Morris, and if you've ever had a cousin who could turn a family barbecue into a battlefield of fake concern and backhanded compliments, then you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. Tessa and I were close. Not just close in the way cousins who exchange birthday texts are, but close like matching Christmas pajamas, borrowed prom dresses, and late-night FaceTime breakdowns over bad breakups. She was the cousin everyone called the golden girl. Polished. Popular. Always a story to tell. A joke to land. And she always seemed to know everything about everyone before anyone else. Still, I never thought she'd come for me. When I bought my house last spring, I didn't post a huge announcement. No, just closed. Photo with keys in front of a door. No champagne pop boomerang. It wasn't a luxury home. It was a slightly dated two-bedroom in a transitional neighborhood, with creaky floors and a leaky faucet. But it was mine. Every cent of that down payment came from weekend freelance jobs, skipped vacations, and saying no when I wanted to say yes. And I was proud. Quietly proud. Tessa came over the week after I moved in, bringing wine and a fake smile that I missed in the moment. I showed her the kitchen, the ugly but functional bathroom, the sunroom I planned to turn into a reading nook. She nodded, but didn't say much. No congratulations. Just a slightly raised brow and a, "Oh, this is cozy." That should have been my first red flag. But the real damage started a few weeks later. My aunt, Tessa's mom, called me out of nowhere. "Hey, sweetheart, just checking in. Is everything okay? You know, if you're ever in trouble financially, we're here for you." I blinked, completely caught off guard. "I'm fine." "Why?" She dodged the question. Said she'd just heard something, but wouldn't say what. A few days later, my uncle dropped a casual, "If you ever need help with bills, don't be embarrassed," into a conversation about college football. I laughed it off, thinking maybe they were just being weirdly generous. But then, my little cousin Sarah, who's barely 15, texted me. "Is it true you asked Tessa for money? She said you were super stressed about keeping your house." That's when the pit formed in my stomach. That low, sour ache that tells you something isn't just wrong, it's personal. I called my sister, Maya, who always sees through the BS. She hesitated for a second when I brought it up, then sighed. "Danielle, I wasn't going to say anything, but yeah. Tessa's been telling people you're broke. That you begged her for $5,000 to help with your mortgage. She even said you were hiding your car so it wouldn't get repossessed." I couldn't even speak. My voice locked up. I felt humiliated and furious, because none of it was true. I hadn't asked anyone for money. My bills were current. My credit was solid. I was living within my means and working my ass off. But apparently, that didn't make a good enough story for Tessa. What hurt the most wasn't just the lies, it was the intention behind them. She made me look like some tragic charity case while presenting herself as the saint who tried to help. And the rest of the family? They believed her. Because she told it with a warm smile and a faux worried tone, and because some people would rather be entertained than informed. I replayed everything in my head. Her walking through my house with that fake grin. The subtle jabs about my neighborhood still coming up. The way she offered to help me budget if I ever needed it. God, I felt so stupid. But I didn't confront her, not yet. Because there's one thing Tessa forgot about me. I don't blow up. I build up. And while she was out there sprinkling lies like confetti at a baby shower, I was doing what I do best, observing, collecting, and planning. I knew Tessa's life wasn't as perfect as she made it seem. I knew she had secrets too. And if she wanted to turn my life into family gossip, well, let's just say I was ready to return the favor. But I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't even going to raise my voice. When I was ready, I was going to let the truth do all the talking. And the truth? Oh, it had teeth. There's a specific kind of silence that follows betrayal, not the peaceful kind, but the tight, choking kind that presses against your chest in the middle of a grocery aisle or when you're brushing your teeth at night. That's what the days felt like after I found out what Tessa had done. It wasn't just what she said, it was the fact that she chose to make me a story. She turned my life into a little soap opera for the group chat. I could almost hear her voice. I love Danielle. I really do, but I just wish she'd been honest with us. But here's what Tessa didn't know. I didn't panic. I watched. I started small. I looked back at our text messages. She had never loaned me money, never even offered. In fact, she'd only ever asked me for small things. Can you spot me for drinks tonight? Can I Venmo you later? Harmless at the time. But now? They felt like puzzle pieces. I also remembered she once borrowed my Amazon Prime account to order a work laptop after hers broke. I logged in and, out of curiosity, checked the orders under her profile. Let's just say there was no work laptop. Just beauty products, boutique leggings, and enough candles to light a seance. Not exactly the spending habits of someone who should be throwing stones from a glass credit score. Still, I wasn't interested in petty payback. I wanted the truth. I wanted clarity. And maybe, if I'm honest, I wanted justice too. So, I went back even further. I used to work in credit repair during college, helping people clean up their financial records, settle debts, and navigate collections. It wasn't glamorous, but it taught me two things. Most people lie about money. Receipts don't. And I had access to tools that most people forgot existed. I started digging, not to be vindictive, but to be informed. I looked up Tessa's name in public records. It didn't take long to find a civil judgment against her from 2 years ago, over $6,700 in unpaid credit card debt. Then another one from Arizona, tied to an address she used when she was living with a boyfriend she swore off. Her record wasn't criminal, it was just messy. Missed payments, late fees, collections. One case even showed that her wages had been briefly garnished before she left her job. The irony? She'd been walking around the family for months calling me irresponsible. I wasn't gloating. I was stunned. Because the whole time she was spinning lies about my finances, she was drowning in her own. And no one knew. Not because she hid it well, but because she was so loud about everyone else. The more I learned, the more I realized, Tessa didn't spread those rumors because she hated me. She spread them because she needed me to look unstable so she could feel stable. And the family? They didn't question it because they already had a picture in their heads. I was independent, private, and a little too quiet about my success. Tessa was chatty, warm, and always first to the gossip. In our family, being loud often got confused with being trustworthy. But I wasn't going to beg anyone to believe me. I decided to wait. Because revenge isn't always about exploding in the moment. Sometimes, the best revenge is exposure, clean, clear, and undeniable. And Tessa? She was about to walk herself into a corner. She just didn't know it yet. The final straw came sooner than I expected. It was my little brother's college graduation party. Everyone was gathered in the backyard with plastic chairs and barbecue plates, laughing, drinking, taking pictures. I brought a gift I'd been saving for months, a leather briefcase with his initials embossed in gold. He dreamed of owning one since he was 16 and obsessed with becoming a lawyer. As I handed it to him, I noticed Tessa watching from across the yard. Tight smile. Arms crossed. Her eyes flicked from the gift to my outfit to the car I'd parked in front of the house. She leaned in and whispered something to my mom. Later, Mom came up to me, looking concerned. Did you really have to go so far with the gift, honey? You don't have to prove anything to anyone. That's when I knew what Tessa had said. I didn't even ask. I just smiled, gave my mom a hug, and made a silent promise. Enough was enough. She wanted to weaponize my life for entertainment? Fine. But I was about to return the favor with facts. And this time, the whole family would be listening. There's a specific kind of revenge that doesn't require screaming. No shouting, no slammed doors. Just one message, sent at the right time, to the right people, with the right amount of truth. I waited 3 days after my brother's graduation party. 3 days to cool off. 3 days to double-check every detail. 3 days to decide if I really wanted to hit send. But by day 3, I knew I wasn't just doing this for me. I was doing it for every time I stayed silent to keep the peace, for every whispered lie that went unchallenged, and for every woman in a family chat who's been made into a cautionary tale by someone who couldn't stand her success. So I opened the group chat, the Morris clan, the one with 22 members, cousins, aunts, uncles, and Grandma Eloise, who still signs every message with love, GMA, like it's a handwritten letter. The last message was from Tessa just 2 days earlier, sharing a funny meme about budgeting. Ironic, considering the storm I was about to drop. I took a deep breath and typed, "Hey fam, I've been hearing a lot of things about my finances lately. I wasn't going to say anything, but since it's become a topic of conversation I wasn't invited to, I figured I'd go ahead and clear the air." Attached are copies of my mortgage statement, car payment record, no, it wasn't repossessed, and my credit score from last month, just so there's no confusion. Also, since we're being transparent, Tessa, I think it's only fair I share what I found in public court records linked to your name. Over $18,000 in outstanding credit card debt, 2 collections notices, and a wage garnishment order from last year. I'm not sharing this to humiliate you. I'm sharing it because if you're going to narrate someone's life to the family, you should probably make sure your own closet doesn't creak louder. Let's stop gossiping and start minding our own business.
Danielle.
Then I hit send, and the chat went silent. For 2 minutes. Then 5. Then 10. I watched the little read checkmarks light up one by one. Grandma. Aunt Denise.
Cousin Marley.
Uncle Todd. Even the quiet family members who never say anything were online. Tessa didn't respond. Instead, she left the group chat. Just a quiet, clinical notification. Tessa has left the conversation. Then Grandma replied, "Tessa, is this true?" That was it. That one line, with all the weight of a matriarch's judgment behind it. And then the flood started. "Marley, I thought Danielle was exaggerating. I'm sorry, Uncle Todd. This is why we don't assume. My mom, God bless her, sent me a private message saying, 'You didn't deserve this. I'm proud of how you handled it.' But the most unexpected response came from my aunt, Tessa's mother. She called me. At first, I braced myself for the backlash. But her voice cracked as soon as she spoke. 'I didn't know, Danielle. I thought she was helping you. She said she gave you money out of her savings. I'm so sorry.' And maybe that's when I realized just how deeply Tessa had manipulated not just me, but everyone. She built a narrative where she was the savior, and I was the reckless relative everyone needed to worry about. She'd fed on attention and pity, knowing full well that no one would fact-check her lies. Because I was quiet, private, and because I didn't brag about my accomplishments, she filled in the blanks with fiction. But that day, I erased her fiction with facts. That night, I went to bed with a mix of emotions. Relief, sadness, a little guilt. I didn't want to tear her down, but I had to stop her before she tore me apart. And when I woke up the next morning, something felt lighter. Not because I'd humiliated her, but because I defended myself, finally and fully. No more playing nice. No more shrinking to keep the family comfortable. For once, I had told my truth, and made sure it echoed louder than her lies. It's strange how quiet things get after the truth comes out. No more whispers. No more double meanings in the group chat. No more cousins texting just checking in like concern was a mask for curiosity. Just quiet. Tessa never replied. Not to the group. Not to me. Not even to my mom, who called her twice and got voicemail both times. She'd gone radio silent. Blocked a few relatives. Ghosted the rest. At first, part of me wanted to chase the closure. To reach out and say, "You hurt me, but I don't hate you." I thought maybe we'd talk it out. Like we used to when we were 16 and dramatic and reckless, but forgivable. But that version of us didn't exist anymore. The thing about betrayal from someone close is, it doesn't just break trust. It breaks the version of them you thought was real. And what's left is a silhouette of someone who chose you as a target, not a loved one. A week after everything blew up in the family chat, I was out walking through the farmer's market when I bumped into Cousin Marley. She gave me the tightest hug and said, "You don't know how many of us you stood up for when you spoke out." I blinked. "What do you mean?" She looked around, like checking if someone might overhear. Then she said, "Tessa's been doing this to all of us, Danielle. Little digs. Spreading half-truths. Making us seem irresponsible or dramatic just so she could stay the golden girl. We all thought it was just us." That hit me harder than the gossip ever did. Because this was the root of it all. Not just one cousin spinning stories, but a whole family dynamic built on false impressions. We were all playing roles someone else assigned. I was the struggling one. Marley was the emotional one. Another cousin, Elena, was the unstable one. And Tessa? She was the narrator. The puppet master. But not anymore. For the first time, people were seeing each other clearly, without Tessa's filter. Conversations started shifting. I noticed more of the women in the family were speaking up, sharing their boundaries, saying no when they usually said sure. And me? I finally stopped shrinking. I didn't explain or over-justify my decisions. When I treated myself to a new coffee table with my bonus check, I posted it proudly. When someone made a snide remark about spending in this economy, I smiled and said, "Budgeting looks different when your bills are paid." I was no longer apologizing for being okay. And Tessa? She stayed distant. A month later, I heard through my aunt that she'd moved in with a new boyfriend in a smaller town. She told people she needed a break from toxic energy. The irony practically wrote itself. But I didn't clap back. I didn't send another message. I didn't need to. Because the point was never to destroy her. It was to protect myself. And to remind the family that silence isn't the same as shame. The Sunday after all this settled, I hosted a small brunch at my house. Just close cousins, my sister Maya, and a few of the relatives who had stood by me. We laughed. We passed around cinnamon rolls. We played music loud and off-key and danced in the sunroom I'd finally turned into a little reading nook. And as I looked around, I realized this wasn't just payback. It was rebirth. Tessa may have twisted my story once, but I took it back. I reclaimed my name, my worth, my voice, and I learned something. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep a family warm. And when they hand you silence, sometimes the best thing you can do is speak, not to destroy them, but to heal yourself. I'll probably never be close to Tessa again. Maybe someday we'll exchange awkward greetings at a wedding or a baby shower. Maybe not. But I no longer carry her story on my back. That chapter is closed. And the next one? It's written entirely in my voice.